Hey, how's it going? It's Greg Fernandez. This is FTE 217 week 2 assignment. So for this assignment, we're tasked with 3 parts. Going ahead and showing the rifle disassembled and all of its components. Part 2 is going to be picking 6 components of the AR-10 or AR-15 platform and describing their functions in the cycle of operations. And then part 3 is going to be the assembly of the weapon system itself and discussing the cycle of operations and what you expect to see. So real quick, going ahead and giving a quick announcement. I guess I misunderstood the welcome letter when it said to go ahead and start assembling the weapons platform itself. So I went ahead and did that to a specific degree. I kind of jumped ahead, I guess, if I just misunderstood the assignment itself. So I have a layout here of all the components that are still disassembled. I'm going to go ahead and replace the A2 style grip. I went and purchased one of these and did a little thingy thing to it to, kind of diet and kind of make it a theme as I go. Also replacing this stock with this Magpul stock. Nothing wrong with this stock. I just kind of wanted to build a rifle based around this stock and platform in general. I have a SBR. I now also have a SPR, and this is going to be basically my DMR. Okay. I went ahead and took the liberty of, doing a little bit of a rattle can jobs, as you can see, to the whole platform. So we're going to go with like a OD green / brown leatherish type of vibe to the scene itself. So without further ado, I did disassemble the trigger assembly and just left everything else as is except for the upper. I did end up putting the pins and springs in for the dust cover and for the forward assist. I don't want to take them out because I don't have new pins to put in there, and I don't want these to wear and tear and just end up falling out on me. Same thing with the lower receiver. I went ahead and kept the slide lock release, or the bolt catch in there because I don't want to pull that pin out again, and then because I left that in there, I couldn't get the mag release out itself. Okay, so unfortunately, if I take a hit on a grade, then I totally understand. But one thing I want to talk about now real quick is 6 components of the AR-15 platform and how they function in cycle of operations. So I went ahead and went with the bolt because the bolt's got a pretty good amount of components already in it. Okay, so you have your bolt carrier, your cam pin, and then your bolt itself along with the firing pin and the gas key. Okay, so for the cycle of operations, for instance, let's say feeding. Okay, when you cycle your bolt, all right, what's going to happen is this round sitting inside of the magazine, okay, is going to be fed by the bolt itself, and the bolt carrier group is going to push that round up and through the feed ramps of your weapon system, and it's going to chamber it. When I say it's going to feed it, it's going to chamber. Okay, what happens is once that bolt or that rifle round is put into the barrel extension of your weapon system, this bolt itself is going to lock itself around, and as you can see, there's a crap load of tension in here, and it's going to secure it as such. Okay, once that happens and this bolt goes through, as this bolt itself starts to slide and rotate back from the cam pin, it's going to twist these lugs that are on the front right here, which are going to interface with the bolt extension, thus locking the chamber itself as a whole. Okay, so real quick, we just talked about feeding and chambering and locking. Okay, now once the firing pin is struck, i.e. the hammer, okay, it's going to obviously strike the primer ignites, and gas builds up and combusts, bullet goes out the barrel. Okay, when that happens, there's going to be gas flowing through that barrel. Okay, excuse me. And so when that gas flies through that barrel, it's going to hit the gas port right here as such. Okay, and then there's going to be a little bit of dwell time, which is going to create enough gas to flow back into this gas tube and push or go inside of the gas key, which goes inside of the chamber, which then pushes this whole entire bolt carrier group and bolt assembly backwards. What that's going to do is that's going to re-rotate the cam pin, thus unlocking the chamber. And as the bolt moves back, you have the extractor right here, which is hooked into the rim of your cartridge, okay, like so. All right, and then you have your ejector right here. So as that bolt opens up, that extractor is now going to extract that cartridge out of the chamber, and that ejector is going to fling that cartridge completely out of the chamber itself. Okay, while that is all being performed, this bolt carrier itself is going to slide the hammer back, thus resetting and cocking the hammer. All right, once that hammer is cocked and that bolt is all the way as far back as it can go into the buffer spring or buffer assembly, we're going to go ahead and do the feeding process all over again, which is going to be the same thing. That lug is going to pick up that next round, feed it into the chamber and the feed ramps. Cam pin's going to go back, lock itself, okay, and it's going to fire, and then it's going to unlock, extract, and eject, and cock, okay? So, all right, so we have the end result right here. I'm thinking about dyeing the stock maybe a little bit darker just so it could kind of match this. This is kind of like a different type of, I don't know, polyethylene mixed to naked plastic. So it kind of holds a little bit different of a color. But all in all, looks pretty good. Okay, the weapon is clear and safe. As you can see, the feed ramps in there. No magazine well, no live rounds in the area. So part 3, the final step is to go ahead and run the firearm through all 8 cycles of function, or 8 steps of the cycle of operations. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the dummy rounds you guys gave us, and then the magazine as well, because I'm a visual learner, not really like a book learner too much. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and insert the magazine, again the dummy round, into the chamber. Okay, make sure it's nice and snug. All right, so cycle of operations, part 1 is going to be feeding, chambering, locking. All right, I don't want to like slow the bolt down too much because it's not going to properly seat. So go ahead and hit that bolt release. All right, so obviously it's feeding, so that bolt lugs grabs the cartridge from out of the magazine. Then it chambers it into the chamber, and then the bolt itself locks once it's properly seated all the way forward. Another way you can check and make sure your bolt's forward all the way is just push that forward assist. I don't know why some gun manufacturers don't make this. This thing is just as useful as anything else on this weapon system. All right, so now we're gonna go to the firing. So weapon on fire, it fires. We're gonna hold that trigger down, and I'll show you why. So now we have the firing and then unlocking, extracting, and ejecting. Okay, mind you, this is new, so it's got to get worn in a little bit, but there you go. Okay, and then obviously because there's a magazine inserted that's empty, it's going to lock the bolt to the rear. So let's just say that the bolt is no longer, or is cycling another round, and now you have cocking. Trigger reset.